Agin Shaheed, welcome to 360 Info Network. We are very pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you. Before I start, I want to honor Brother Antonio as a police officer. I was riding through Cleveland the other day, and I said to my friend, I said, "Y'all got police here? I don't see no police nowhere." And then I said, "I don't want to cause no omen here." And then I went downtown, and there were four black policemen, different age groups. In San Diego, we're only 5% of the police there, and you don't see very many black police officers. But I was asked by the city attorney to train San Diego School Police once, so I trained about 100 of them. And I said this: I said 15% of the police on the force there are absolutely corrupt. You're a disgrace to the uniform. 35% of you sit on the fence. You'll either go this or they. I said 50% of you really protect and serve. So, Brother Antonio, I believe you the 50% for Cleveland. I want to read your book. I just had to give you your props, bro.
Oh, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
I would go as far as to say that Brother Antonio was the 5%.
Ooh, like that. Yes, I got you.
Yes, because the premise of his book is conscious policing. And the issue is that there is a lack of consciousness when it comes to policing. And if we look at the history of policing in this country and we realize the reason that it even exists,
Right.
somehow I left my computer on all night. So when I woke up this morning, I heard the voice of Tim Wise. I don't know if you know who Tim Wise is, but
Mm,
Tim Wise, I was thinking about this morning. Tim is like, I don't want to call him woke. I want to call him aware.
okay.
Aware. Because for whatever reason, woke has implications, and sometimes those implications are not necessarily positive. But there are some white folks who do get it. And he talked about the first 20 or 30 years of the 20th century and the way things were being done to black people in this country. And
Yes.
they were done with the assistance of the people who were called police. They
Right.
were witnessing it, they were participating in it, they
Yeah,
were not
absolutely.
discouraging it, they were allowing it to happen. You
Right.
know, it's just amazing when we look at history, and in this moment I'm just thinking about all of the things that are being revealed about things that were done to us, but at the same time you had people like Ernie Freeman that were doing the things that they were doing that we don't know about. And
Right.
that's why I think it's important for us to have this conversation today about this book. The book is called The Musical Blueprint, Ernie Freeman, The Man in His Times. And within it, there is a timeline of his life and things that he accomplished along the way. He was actually in the music industry for 6 decades, for 60 years, almost the entire time that I've been on the planet. This
Mm,
man was facilitating people making music. So he didn't just write the music, he arranged and conducted it. He was in just so many different realms. And Ajin, I want you to share some of those things with us so that people get a sense of the accomplishment of this great man that you chose to document his life.
So what I want to do a little drum roll just for a minute to pique the listener's appetite. And I'm just going to list some names of people that he worked with. He worked with the Ernie Fields Orchestra, Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Ray Charles, Andy Williams, Eddie Fisher, Quincy Jones, Robert Goulet, Mel Torme, Wayne Newton, Bobby V, Vic Dana, The Supremes, Sam Cooke, Willie Nelson, Johnny Rivers, Dame Shirley Bassey, Peggy Lee, Keely Smith, Edie Adams, Janet Dean, Anthony Newley, Frankie Avalon, Petula Clark, Vicky Carr, Connie Francis, Gene McDaniels, Sandy Nelson, Dwayne Eddy, Jane Morgan, Johnny Burnett, The Crickets, Buddy Knox, Mae West, The Blossoms, Bobby Darin, Sandra Dee, Sonny and Cher, Ritchie Valens, Johnny Otis, Nelson Riddle, Les McCann, Barbara McNair, Brenda Holloway, and I'm almost done. Johnny Mathis, Pat Boone, Carol Burnett, Glenn Yarborough, The Platters, Dinah Washington, Paul Anka, Nancy Sinatra, Lionel Hampton, Marilyn McHugh, and Lamont. The Mills Brothers, Diane Carroll, Dorothy Dandridge, Sarah Vaughan, Desi Arnaz, Alvin and the Chipmunks, and Huckleberry Hound. Now, you tell me that's not something.
That is something.
That is.
And people don't know who he is, and especially Cleveland. I bet you could take a poll and nobody in Cleveland. Ernie, who? Okay, but that's how I wanted to start off there. Okay, so let's dive into it. Ernie's father, Ernest A. Freeman, he was born in Wilson, North Carolina, and he played the piccolo and the flute in Europe during World War One and helped introduce ragtime and jazz to the French during World War One. Now, an interesting thing about his daddy, his father, okay, all of his sons went to Tuskegee Institute. So Ernest Freeman walked 600 miles to go to Tuskegee to major in music. He was one of the first black musicians to play for the Cleveland Symphony Orchestra. He went on then, okay, to have his children. He owned property there. So Ernie grew up very, very nice. He grew up in a four-room house. He grew up on 2211 Cedar. Okay, I don't even know if it's there now. It may be torn down. Okay, and Ernie grew up with Mayor Carl Stokes. Okay, and Howard Johnson, who did the original Dreamgirls in on Broadway. And I wanted to give that little introduction again because those are other names also that are famous coming out of Cleveland. So in 1933, he was in high school there. His sister had a jazz band in Black Cleveland. Okay, and she performed at different venues around Cleveland and radio stations. Her name was Evelyn Freeman, and Ernie would blow with her on the saxophone. Okay, what happened when the war rolled in 1941? Ernie joined the Navy, and all the other brothers in the orchestra joined, and they formed the first all-black U.S. Navy band called the Gobs of Swing, and they toured everywhere. Well, when Ernie got out, Ernie left Cleveland, okay, around 1944. That's why y'all don't know much about him, okay? And he came to LA, okay, where I grew up. And Ernie actually went to USC, graduated in 1948. One too many brothers graduating from USC in 1948. Okay, he got a master's degree in music composition in 1949. He also played the violin, and he played the clarinet. He played the piano. In a local church here in Cleveland, his family was church folks, and he was 4 years old playing the violin in the church. Okay, 4 years old. So Ernie really started off as kind of a musical genius here. So as we move on, when Ernie did come to LA in 1949, he actually did a spot on the Red Skelton TV show along with Joe Comfort, the renowned bass player. Okay, got a picture of that in the book. Okay, he was the musical arranger for Dorothy Dandridge's tour in the early 1950s, including Alan Young TV show. He was her voice coach. You'll see in the book, we call it On the Road in the early 50s. You're going to see the Orpheum Theater in LA, which is very famous. And there's a big old giant billboard that says Art LeBeau, rock and roller, Sam Cooke, and Ernie Freeman. So Ernie was rolling around with even greats like Sam Cooke. You're going to learn about Ernie from the book. We're talking about the book. There was a very famous group called the Platters, okay? The Great Pretender, okay? Rock Around the Clock. Well, in the Platters, Zola Taylor actually is my aunt, okay? But
Mm.
Ernie was the pianist, okay, on those songs there. He also accompanied on piano and traveled with Dinah Washington in the early 1950s. And if we know our music history, Dinah Washington was the Beyonce of the day, the Diana Ross of the day, the any well-known black female singer. It was Dinah Washington. Okay, he gave voice lessons to Paul Anka, who was 15. And some of you, the audience, may remember Diana. It was $1 million seller, and Ernie helped him do that song. Ernie did scores for Carol Channing's show on CBS in 1966. He was the musical arranger and conductor for the Leslie Uggam Show in 1969. Okay. And the brother, Howard A. Roberts, that I told you that did Dreamgirls, the original Dreamgirls on Broadway. Now, here's a real good one. He was the musical conductor for Diane Carroll's USS Norway tour on the cruise there. Now, he even did a piece with Bing Crosby. Okay. And Bing Crosby, in the book, you're going to see a letter that he wrote to Ernie thanking him for trying to teach him how to sing. Okay. It is actually in the letter. Okay. Here's one. We got excited when we saw Ritchie Valens in the movie La Bamba.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go back and look at that movie, and when they showed the band that Ritchie Valens started for the song to come out, there's a black piano player in that movie. That was Ernie Freeman
Oh.
in La Bamba. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in the book, you're going to see Ernie Freeman, top arranger for Strangers in the Night with Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra only ever got one Grammy, but he didn't get it. Ernie got it as the arranger for Strangers in the Night. And Ernie Freeman went on to do Simon and Garfunkel. Okay. Ernie Freeman got a Grammy for doing the strings for Bridge Over Troubled Water. Now, you know, every church, I mean, who don't know that song, but don't nobody know Ernie. Okay. Don't nobody know
Wow.
Ernie.
Wow.
Okay. Now here we go. Who don't know That's Life by Frank Sinatra? Okay. Ernie arranged that. Okay. So in LA, you have to be familiar with LA culture. They had some covenant stuff and they didn't let black folks in an area called Baldwin Hills. Ernie was the seventh black family to move in Baldwin Hills in the popular Crenshaw area of LA. The white architect there went on and just sold it to him anyway. And so Ernie broke through that. Ernie Freeman also arranged Dean Martin's hit "Everybody Loves Somebody Somewhere." Now I can't sing, okay, but he was the arranger for that, and that knocked the Beatles out. The Beatles, you know, they had the British invasion, but
Mm-hmm.
when Ernie arranged that hit, "Everybody Loves Somebody," knocked the Beatles out. Black man, okay, so get me Ernie Freeman. Okay, they have all kind of newspaper articles, and one of them said, "Get me Ernie Freeman," and here's what it says: "The envelope, please." Turns up. Ernie Freeman's accepting the Grammy Award from Herb Alpert for Ernie's arrangement of "Strangers in the Night." A master's degree from the University of Southern California, a staggering 125 gold record singles, and 20 gold record albums are his calling cards. Ernie did commercials. He did for Richfield Oil during Ernie's Live a Little Extra campaign. He did something also for Bank of California and for Buick. So you can see Ernie was just like all over the place. Okay, we talked about that he scored for the Carol Channing special. Okay, the movie Surfing a Pilot, produced by Lee Irwin and the Leslie Uggam Show. He did that. Now here's some motion pictures, and we're old enough to have seen some of these. At home in the recording studio, a natural for Ernie is the motion picture score. His accomplishments include The Double Man from Warner Brothers, starring Yul Brynner, Ride the Wild Surf, Paramount Studios, Duffy from Columbia Studios, starring James Garner. From Universal Studios, he did The Pink Jungle, starring James Colburn. He did What Am I Bid from Liberty International, and The Cool Ones from Warner Brothers. He even did the George Raft story. If you remember George Raft, Ernie did that. Okay. He did all of the 50 guitars of Tommy Garrett record series done by Ernie Freeman. Well, Sammy Davis Jr., Ernie did a whole bunch of things with that. He had a little nickname called Sir Chauncey, and he introduced something that got on the charts called Beautiful Obsession. You'll go back and see that. He did something also called The Bumble and the Singers, Bumble Boogie. Now, here's the big one. Who don't know Dick Clark? Dick Clark is responsible for over 10,000 acts on his show. Well, Dick Clark got with Ernie and they got the Hollywood Bowl. And for 3 years, Ernie was the second black man to ever conduct in the Hollywood Bowl, but he conducted for 3 years. Orchestra leader. Every group, every band, anybody that was anybody with Dick Clark, Ernie was the man. He was the orchestra leader. Okay. His wife, believe it or not, conducted and arranged the Christmas song for the Supremes, the children's Christmas song. But Ernie was the arranger. Okay. So coming a little bit back to his sister and brother, in LA and around the country, there was a really popular Christian group called the Young Saints. Okay. Well, his sister produced that and played at the White House with Richard Nixon. Ernie was the arranger for that. Ernie's brother Art Freeman, okay, arranged "When Will I See You Again" by the Three Degrees, and "The One" by the Whispers, okay, and Ernie helped arrange that. So you can see, dipping into these songs, Ernie again was just all over the place. Let's do nightclub arrangements. Edie Adams, Joy Lansing, Sammy Davis Jr., Marguerite Piazza, Tony Martin, Earl Grant, Gary Puckett and Diane Carroll. He did nightclub arrangements for them throughout time. And his biggest achievement, also, we did talk about Dick Clark, but the Harry Belafonte show. Composed, arranged, and recorded contemporary dance on that show. In LA, there was a very popular station I grew up with called KTLA. He did all the station breaks, 1962 to 1969. Okay. Some gold record singles. Dean Martin, we said Everybody Loves Somebody. Frank Sinatra, Strangers in the Night. Dean Martin, The Door is Still Open to My Heart. Remember the Vogues, the white group, Turn Around, Look at Me. We did that. Remember Gene McDaniel's 100 Pounds of Clay? Ernie arranged that. Bobby V, Rubber Ball, and Big Dana, Red Roses for a Blue Lady. Everybody knew that song, but do you know that Ernie Freeman was the arranger for that? So at this point, I'm going to kind of stop on this drum roll and then take some more questions from you about Ernie.
I looked at the book last night. I read much of it, and I was just looking at some of the points that were being made about the dynamics of race back then.
Oh, yeah.
Reading about the first time that a black man touched a white man on film and how people reacted to that. And as you talk about so many of the people that he was associated with, those of us who are in our age group
right
know about them.
Yeah.
But younger folks who might listen to this or see this at some point in the future, they may not have any idea who these folks were. I mean, you know, why would we know who Sidney Poitier is
There
today?
you go. Right.
So could you talk about what it was like for a black man during that time to be operating at the level at which he was operating and be in such demand?
So in my book, which you saw, I actually started off. I'm so glad you put that out because in 1957, Sidney Poitier played in Band of Angels, and Devon DiCarlo played a black woman, a mulatto black woman, and he slapped her. The country held their breath. Okay. Then Harry Belafonte in the movie Islands in the Sun had an affair with Joan Fontaine, okay, and still lived to talk about it, okay. Go back and look at that now, because
Mhm.
Dorothy Dandridge was so beautiful in that movie,
Yeah.
okay, and they put her with the white man. They had to do that, but they had Harry with the white man. And this is the funny part. Even in the '60s, you got Petula Clark downtown. All she did was grab Harry Belafonte's arm, and the world just turned upside down. Okay, now coming and see, people don't know all that kind of stuff, but here comes Ernie Freeman, and let me tell you a little bit about Ernie's personality. Ernie was a laid back brother. Okay, he really wasn't trying to push himself forward. Okay, so he was always in the cut, just doing what he loved, doing music. But he invited a lot of people to his house. Okay, there in Baldwin Hills. So a lot of these people we're talking about came to Ernie's house, and they had these integrated parties. Now don't that sound funny today? Integrated parties, okay? Black folks and white folks mixing together. And so Ernie really broke the color line. Also, believe it or not, and get ready for what you're going to hear. So during this time that Ernie was doing these things, they had a separate black musicians labor. The whites and the blacks weren't mixed. So all the white singers were over here and all the blacks over here. Well, Ernie helped pioneer that and put that together. And then finally they integrated it. Okay. But even the union was separated in the music world. Okay. I mean, that's just some really, really unbelievable
And
kind of stuff there.
if I could, I
Go
just
ahead.
I just want to offer this because what you just explained to us really kind of amplifies the fact that some of the folks that he was intersecting with took up the cause and the plight of black musicians. For instance,
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra
Yes.
coming into a club in Las Vegas and saying, this person is coming through the front door, not the back door. They're going to stay in this hotel
That's
and
right.
not something across town. And so when you look at what Frank Sinatra did for people like Joe Louis and others,
Right.
there
Sammy.
was Sammy Davis Jr., the Rat Pack, and there was a section in there about the Rat Pack and why they
Right.
were so revered, and the
Yeah.
fact that Ernie had connections to all of these folks, but we sometimes have a very short memory.
Oh, a very short memory, and
And
and purposely so,
right.
and purposely so. So it was very very important. This trailblazer man here, and in the book, because I'm still introducing to the book, what I did, Ernie's daughter, my cousin, she had the opportunity at a very early age to travel with her father and meet many of these people. Okay, so she meant Bing Crosby, and you'll see in the book some things she had to say. She meant Eddie Fisher. You'll see some things she had to say. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. Let's go back to my favorite piece about Frank Sinatra. When Sammy died, a lot of people don't know he was going through some little struggles.
Yeah,
Okay,
I remember.
he married his last wife, Altafe Gore. Frank gave her $1 million cold cash.
Wow.
$1 million. Don't worry about it. Straighten up Sammy's affairs and take care of yourself. So us black folks again had some sharp imprints on mainstream white people. For them to be who they are, they got to practice by doing good with us, and that made them famous. Okay, that made them really, really famous. Okay. Yeah, so I have a little fun with you now. He actually trained Charlie Chaplin's wife, Lita Chaplin, and Lita told Ernie, well, my husband is part black. So you got all these people running around, okay, with identity crisis. Charlie Chaplin was part black, confirmed by his wife, Lita. Okay, it's out now, but when he did work with Carol Channing told him, my father's a Negro. He said, my father's a Negro. So I'm bringing this up because Ernie was kind of a trusted guy, and people just felt comfortable telling him things like that. Okay. Yeah, just telling him things like that. So that would be my little piece on race.
Yeah. Well, let's invoke Quincy Jones.
Okay.
Because Quincy, in his way, I'm not going to say he was equally impactful, but he took the baton and he ran with it. And so
Yes.
you see,
Yes.
Quincy was responsible for the album Thriller, which sold
Yes.
25 million copies right out the gate, and is probably one of the biggest selling albums of all time. Can you talk about the intersection of Ernie and Quincy?
Yes. So Ernie Freeman did a blockbuster first. When Frank Sinatra left Capitol Records, he formed his own record company called Reprise Records, and he did the unthinkable for the time. He hired Ernie Freeman as his musical director. Ernie was the first black musical director anywhere in the country. Okay. And at that time, he had Duke Ellington up under him. He even had Red Fox. Red Fox was up under Reprise. Okay. So breaking that whole piece there, Ernie just slid into a whole way of having a black man. Well, then he intersected also with Quincy Jones. They did things together. Now, the piece here that I want to say, Ernie died in 1981, very, very young. Okay, so our brother Quincy really had a platform. He jumped off of Ernie. He jumped off of Ernie, smoothly going on in, and of course took it to the stars. Okay, took it to the stars. But there'd be no Quincy, I have to say, if there wasn't an Ernie.
Yes, that's amazing. You also mentioned him having something to do with Alvin and the Chipmunks and Huckleberry Hound.
Yes. So Ernie was on the team that produced Alvin and the Chipmunks and Huckleberry Hound. He was on that team. Okay, and I know when I was a kid, I'm 76. I'm letting you know. Okay, I grew up with Alvin and the Chipmunks and Huckleberry Hound. Okay, but watch, when I was coming up, now this is the sad thing. I used to go over Ernie's house. He was just Uncle Ernie to me. I didn't even know he was famous. You know how we do as black folks. He was just Uncle Ernie. I didn't know all of this until I got older. And again, that's how cool he was. That's how reserved. He wasn't walking around posturing and stuff. Okay. But doing all of this. Okay. All of this. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about his first prominent hit. He was having a band that was instrumentalists.
Yes.
So the tune that put him on the map, and it was #1 on the pop and the R&B charts, was a song called Raunchy.
Yeah, you like that name, Raunchy?
And there are no words to the song. So
no.
It's a classic 1-4-5 progression type song that was back then, but it was an instrumental, and perhaps in the second hour I will play that song.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But it's just amazing that early in his career he was doing something that a lot of folks didn't really get, a whole lot of attention for. He was a band leader, and he's got a song and it's charting across the country. And
Yeah.
it was rare for us, the R&B world, to have
Yes.
songs that were number one on the pop charts.
Come on.
We could get our respect in the R&B world because we're dealing with our constituents, but then that
Right.
whole magical thing of crossover.
Mhm.
But music has no color. When you hear the song, you don't hear race, you hear music.
That's
And
right.
I think perhaps that is what was cutting through all of the filters that existed back then.
Well, you take let's take a main so-called I said mainstream. Let's take Andy Williams. Okay. He did a lot of things with Andy Williams. If you ever want to hear something, I mean, really beautiful, look at Andy Williams' version of the love theme from Godfather, reduced in 1972. Ernie Freeman arranged that. Godfather, Andy Williams. Okay, it's absolutely just haunting. Okay, and he hosted the Andy Williams TV show in 1962 to 71, and TV specials. He brought Ernie in again, another mainstream guy. So you hear about him, you hear about his wife Claudine Leger, the French woman, but we don't hear nothing about Ernie, the black man. So it was still like you could be in, but we just can't say nothing. Okay. Yeah. So this is why a friend of mine said this way when I first wrote the book. In fact, I'll tell you how I got started. I was talking with my cousin every week. We was just reconnected. We hadn't seen each other for years. And she kept talking about her father. And because I worked in the school system at the time, I was over the African American male program in San Unified School District, along with three other men. And our task was to introduce them to the good life here in America, and how to be somebody. Okay. Well, at this time, having a background like a Ernie Freeman, we had to introduce these young men to strong role models that they could identify with, and that they could know that I too can be somebody.
But let me jump in here just a little bit. It's not off the beaten path a little bit, but I'm just at amazement because we can almost factor in and think and know that okay, in the 50s, 60s, come on, in 65, I was alive when they was pushing people off the state house as far as voting is concerned. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was living during that time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And okay, we're gonna give you that. But the thing that is still amazing to this point, because we had all our great ones, the Malcolms and the Megas and and Martins back that time, talking the same stuff, and we're still in 2026.
Oh yeah.
Still dealing with race issues. When you're dealing with entertainment, you're still getting into bad contracts. People still using you, misusing you. It's almost as bad as still going in the back door because you're still not getting paid for what you're worth. And as your counterpart, look at the sisters. I keep messing. What's the one? Monique said the same thing. I forgot the other sister played in Hustle and Flow. What's her name?
Taraji Henson.
Yeah, Taraji Henson. Yeah. They complaining about fair wages for their deeds and stuff. I believe if I'm not mistaken, I think Terrence Howard said he only made $10,000 or something on that film.
Now that's unbelievable.
Unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. And the point I'm gonna get to is that you got the receipts. That's what that was the new terminology today.
That's the new term.
Okay. Right. Black folks got the receipts of all the inequities, of all the disparities, the uneven playing field, and we're walking in the days and looking like that we're not under attack. If you know that we're under attack, you're not responding and acting like a people who is under attack.
We're in amnesia because because I'm just gonna say it the way it is. Okay, everybody's all integrated now, going to the parties and everything. We are
Uh,
actually in amnesia. We done forgot all
yeah.
about
Come
what
on, man.
went down in our history.
Come
And
on.
this new era with our current administration is reminding us just how quick they ready to
Yes.
slide us back
Yeah.
in a whole new way of doing it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
right back to where
Yeah.
we are. Okay, so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad once said something. I heard an album by him one time, and he was talking about that the black man. He said we're a pitiful people. He said we're so afraid of the white man that the milkman can arrest you and you'll go to jail. Okay, but see, that's how bad it was.
Mhm.
Okay, that's how. But now everything appears to be so different and so integrated. But as you reported so well, it's a camouflage
Mhm.
because underneath that is still all the ways to hold us in check to only get so far. Okay,
Let me
just
interject
so
right.
far.
Let me interject right here, and that's kind of like what we talk. I talk a little bit about the book that and other officers kind of agree. A black chief and a white
Mm,
chief. That black chief don't have the same power as that white chief.
mm.
It's and that's in the chapter the masquerade. It's a masquerade. It's limited power. It's just
Oh,
for
come
show.
on,
You
come
know,
on.
we know the Irish runs. That the police and the fire department. We just occupiers in there. But you can have a toehold in those things if you just was culturally unified and stayed and pooled your money, your economics, your refine your resources and things of that nature. We wouldn't have to be in this position. That's why I preach culture more than anything, and that's what I stress, that what everybody else got that we ain't got. They're culturally sound.
Well, Brother Antonio, let me give you some more prompts because my number one message when I was over race and human relations is culture, just what you said. I was taught by a man from Harvard University who was at the college I was at. He was there for a few months. And he said, culture is learned, shared beliefs. Culture is learned, shared beliefs. I had a friend one time, an elder lady, and she said, culture will take you where money won't. Culture will take you where money won't. Okay. So this cultural piece is gigantic. I used to do a training in the school district under the Campbell Joneses called cultural proficiency. So there were 6 stages. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but the worst stage was cultural destructive, cultural blindness. So we would train staffs. Are you culturally destructive? Are you culturally blind? Okay. And then cultural proficiency. So let me give you a sad story. So when I went to this elementary school as the pupil advocate for the improvement and achievement of African American students, we had 176 young African American boys. It was an elementary school, kindergarten through six. So what I did, I had my room, I put up an exhibit called Out of Africa Came Great Americans. Out of Africa, I put the Great Kings exhibit. Okay, Anheuser-Busch, everybody know that.
Yeah, yeah, I know that.
Came Great Americans, I purposely focused on inventors and scientists because what we won't know is that Africans in America have done over 30,000 inventions to make the good life in America. We almost did everything. Now you say 30,000, well, there are 4 million inventions. Okay, so we don't get real excited, but 30,000 is still 30,000.
Mhm.
Okay, so I had each young man walk up and look at that board. And then I had them come to me and say, tell me what you saw. When they came and told me, except one boy only, he was in the 5th grade, they said, I see slaves. I see poor people. Even seeing them in kings and queen garments, even seeing them with a beaker and a stethoscope, They saw slaves and poor people. The one young man looked at it and said, "Oh, I see kings and inventors, so they great, I'm gonna be great." That is a true story. That was in 1989 at a middle class black school, so called middle class, where kids had a few nickels in their pocket and can eat every day. And that's the way they thought.
Wow.
That's the way they thought.
Hey,
Well,
Vince, repeat that one thing you said the other day about when the nickel and the dime thing in the school. You know, when it
yeah,
was, yeah.
actually, it was a Facebook post by somebody by the name of E.C. Wash.
Uh-huh.
Mm,
And
okay.
it was a video of a teacher asking the students how many dimes were in $150.
Mm, okay.
And so he got a whole bunch of different answers. And one of the students answered the question correctly.
Yeah.
There was one of the students that did not know the difference between a dime and a nickel.
Oh, okay.
And so when you ask them how many dimes are in $150, you might get an answer like 15 or 20.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
It was just it
Yeah.
was amazing. But then, you put that against the backdrop of just Americans in general.
Mm.
Ask them who the first president of the United States was. Let's not even talk about the brother. They didn't
Yeah.
even talk about George Washington.
I'm
Wow.
so glad you said that because I have a brother who's a medical doctor. He graduated from USC, and he just did a little poll with some of his patients, and this is the way it went. He asked the little black patient who somebody was. I can't remember. He couldn't tell him. He asked. He said, "Oh, well, maybe he's just too young." Then he asked, this happened to be a little Hispanic. He asked him something. He said, "Oh, well, maybe, maybe he's an immigrant and he just got here." But here's the telling piece. Then a little white patient came and he was in second year of college and he asked him the question and he couldn't tell him. He said, "Everybody's dumbed down." Everybody's dumbed down. So remember, George Santa Anna said, "Those who cannot remember the past are
Ooh.
condemned to repeat it
Repeat. Mhm.
over and
Mhm.
over
Mhm.
again."
Mhm.
So this whole thing about culture and history is everything. That's why one of the best things ever came out for our history was Michael Jackson, Remember the Time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And do you know that what's his name? Who did the color purple? Who's the guy that did the color purple? Well, I can't remember his name, but major producer would not back Michael. See, people don't know that. Michael went to all kind of people to help him produce that, and they would not do it because he portrayed those Egyptians as
Come on.
black like they were
Oh.
supposed to be.
Mm,
Okay, who
mm,
gonna
mm,
be more prettier than Iman? Who gonna be more handsomer than Eddie Murphy? Okay, come on, they couldn't handle all of that, and they
mm.
would not help Michael produce that.
You kidding me, man?
Yeah, Michael had to do it all by himself.
Might
Mhm.
have been Spielberg.
Still, that's what I was talking about. Steven Spielberg. He went to Steven, and even though Steven did the color purple, we're gonna give him his props. But the color purple was showing us still struggling through some southern stuff, right? But
Mhm.
ain't nobody going to show us as Egyptians. Now, let me tell you something about the Irish, okay? Because this is something people don't know. The original people in the British Isles were black.
For sure.
That's
Mhm.
documented.
Yes.
So what happened in Ireland, okay, when the what we now call Europeans came into Ireland, okay, they wiped them out. And what they did when they wiped them out, they told this little story called the leprechauns. If you catch the leprechaun, you get a pot of gold. Well, the leprechaun was if you catch the little, because he was short stature, kind of pygmy like blacks. Okay.
Mhm.
Catch the leprechaun, get the pot of gold. Catch the black man, get the land. Okay. Get the land. And
Mhm.
then if you look at sinners, look back in how they had the white guy that was causing all the problems there with the magic and stuff, he was Irish.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the last piece. When you see the Irish, okay, they got them freckles, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because they got that black and white blood still trying to mix. And so when the Irish came here to America, they was like what they call, excuse the language, the white niggas. They
Mm-hmm.
used to put Irish people in slavery.
Mm-hmm.
They used to put Irish people in slavery, and some Irish people, because they were so poor from the potato famine, they just said they was black so they could eat and go to enslavement. So now here's the end of it. Then you come up with a book now because during World War II, they needed more whites. Okay. They needed more whites.
The
So they
classic.
said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we'll let the Italians in. You know, they ain't nothing but white
Yeah.
niggas.
Right.
Okay, we'll let the Irish in. We'll let the Jew in. So they wrote a book called How the Irish Became White.
Okay. Listen, we're going to have to wrap things up here on the radio broadcast due to some technical difficulties. We're going to run our spot for the Cleveland Observer at 11:59 so that we can fulfill our obligation to our title sponsor. I have some announcements to make on the other side of noon. If you're just joining us or you joined us halfway through, we are talking to Agin Shaheed. He wrote a magnificent book about Ernie Freeman called The Musical Blueprint, Ernie Freeman, the Man and His Times. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But in the second hour of this broadcast, we're going to talk about Agin Shaheed because he's done some very meaningful things. As always, we'd like to thank you for listening. We'd like to thank our engineer, Tone Harley, for making things happen for us. And we thank our brother Hamtonio for creating this show. As always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make it a great day, y'all. Peace.
Peace, peace, peace.
Peace.
All right, in just a few moments, we will be going exclusively to my YouTube channel, and I promise you we're going to get this all sorted out. I have no idea why it happened, although I think I may know. We'll figure it out, but that Mercury retrograde, Hamtonio, how long have we been dealing with these things?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like year after year after year. These things happen. I'm remembering a few retrogrades ago, the router to my computer died during the broadcast. During the broadcast, and we had Nana on from Ghana, so he was on the other side of the world. And you were on, and we were all on StreamYard, but because it's an internet platform, the fact that your channel and my channel are merged, it meant that the broadcast could continue even though I couldn't participate. So that broadcast is actually on both of our YouTube channels, but it's amazing. But somehow miraculously we're able to make some adjustments and we're able to continue this conversation. So we talked a lot about the book, Ernie Freeman, the Man and His Times. And this is a great book that our brother Agin brought to us. And definitely in the past hour, we have made known much of his accomplishments. We've kind of just scratched the surface, though there's so much there. And for those of you who don't necessarily like reading, there's a lot of pictures in the book. So you can go through and look at the pictures and read the captions and get a great deal of information, even if you don't read the entire text. I was really moved by the fact that you involved Janice, and Janice reflected on the life of her father and really brought, a lot of things that happened to the forefront as a result of that. So just for the first few moments, let's talk about how you wrote the book and what your objective was. And I know it was to let us know about who Ernie was, but you really did a great job of showing how much he did and all those intersections that happened during the course of his short time on Earth.
Well, thank you very much for saying that, because Janice is the pivotal part of this book. This book could not come into existence were it not for Janice Freeman, Ernie's daughter, because she's a living eyewitness to these things, cannot be refuted. Okay, so we would talk every Monday. We would talk, and I would take notes. Okay, And then I think I had said earlier, I'll mention again, originally I was only going to do like a little 15-page pamphlet just to pass out for Black History Month, that type of thing. But as I began to embrace and understand the scope and sequence and length of the phenomenon of Ernie Freeman, it just began to unfold to what we have. And listen to me now when I tell you, I could have wrote 200 more pages. It would really be no stop, and I'm not exaggerating. There's so much more about Ernie Freeman that is not in this book. You would not believe it. Okay.
Mm.
So I'm threatening to go ahead and do a part two because now that Ernie has come alive, okay, and a friend of mine, the comedian, he said, Agin, now you brought him back to life. You're going to have to feed him. Okay. So the feeding is just what I'm doing right now. I got to do things. Okay.
Good point. I
So
like
yes,
that.
we're going to have to get some more
Mhm.
information out on Ernie there. But coming back to Janice, we want to thank her for her testimony and her living testimony. That's why I purposely, at first, believe it or not, she wasn't really for her doing her part in the book where she did the quotes on all the people that she met because she was trying to do low profile. Okay. And Janice had left Los Angeles and the bright lights and all of that. And she went into Washington, D.C. She has architectural design background and she designed foyers for major buildings on the East Coast. And actually, I don't know the name of it, but when you move out of the White House or any government building, um, what she did, she created showrooms for the office furniture that the new president and his wife would pick out. So she just went into a different kind of a life. So I had to kind of really coach her a little bit to want to talk about those days because a lot of it was painful. So one last piece on that. So when they moved in that big beautiful house in Baldwin Hills, they had garbage thrown on the lawn.
Mm.
Mhm.
Those kinds of things. So even with a father like that, even with those kinds of things, you know, there were painful things that Black people still had to go through.
In
Famous,
America.
yeah, in America.
Yeah.
Okay, in America. So yes, thank you for mentioning Janice Freeman. Her husband actually is a very famous coach at Rutgers University, responsible for a lot of NBA players and that type of things. He's been in Sports Illustrated so many times you can't count. So her and her husband make a nice little team. But
Okay.
that's the piece on Janice. Oh yeah, here's a good one now. Miss World, okay. Janice, when she was young, they wanted her to run for Miss World, Los Angeles. It's in the book. But the racism that they used is they said she was only 16 and a half, so she couldn't run. But that's them little tricks again that Antonio's talking about. Okay. Oh, you too young. But she was running for Miss World, okay, at that time. So, you know, the Jane Kennedys, the Lola Falanas, you know, all the ones that we like, okay. Janice was in there too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Couple of things. First of all, my co-producer Robert Allen has been sharing with me, and he advised me that we left out an important milestone. Ernie's 1960 classic "Beautiful Obsession."
Oh,
It was
yeah.
under the name Sir Chauncey and the Exciting Strings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He also shared that brother Ernie Freeman was born at 2211 Cedar Avenue. He grew up with Harold Robinson and did Dream Girl, and he was close
Yes.
to Charles Stokes.
Yeah, absolutely. They grew up together.
Yes, that's amazing. And you know what's really amazing about that central area? Because so much came out of that area. You think about the Stokes
Hmm.
brothers, you think about
Okay.
Ernie, you think about other folks.
King.
Which king?
Don King, Cedar.
Oh, Don King. Yeah, Don
Don
King.
King grew up there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then I don't know if there was any relation, but Brother Antonio, Donald Freeman.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Donald right quick.
Donald Freeman just transitioned last year.
Okay.
He was he created a movement called RAM. I think it was Revolutionary Action Movement. It was like the precursor to the Black Panther Party here in Cleveland. And he was an activist to the very last day of his life. He created a publication called Vibrations.
Vibrations.
And
the reason why I'm writing this down is because the Freeman family, they do a reunion almost every year. And I can take that name and go back to my cousin Janice and see if she can scroll through, because he could be a relative. Because Ernie Freeman's grandfather had 11 children.
Mm-hmm.
11.
It's very possible. And it was Donald Freeman and his wife, Norma Jean Freeman. They were inseparable. When you saw one, you saw the other. And they had the same impact, the same energy. I mean, they were just a vital piece of the cultural fabric of Cleveland. So I was just thinking about that in the moment. It's very possible that they were both, they were both related. And then there was his brother, Kaleem Abdul Alim, who just transitioned a few months ago. Kaleem ended up going to New York, and he was part of the avant-garde jazz scene in New York. And I believe he taught music in New York and possibly Boston. My memory is kind of foggy on that, but just so much intersectionality. But the central area of Cleveland, Ohio, it produced some of the most important people that this nation has ever seen, including the first mayor of a major city.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And it's very, very important to recognize that in my family history, because you asked a little bit about me, my grandfather was the first Black superintendent of attendance for LA Unified School District in 1934. His father was a co-founder of Jarvis Christian College, one of our Black colleges in Hawkins, Texas, and started off as an elementary school, but my great-grandfather took it to the college level. Also in our family is Matthew Henson, the co-explorer of the North Pole. That's actually my grandfather, Charles C. Flint. This is another book I wrote, Charles C. Flint, The Man in His Times. Okay, History of Black Los Angeles. And he married into the family there. So into Matthew Henson family. So he was my grandmother's uncle. So actually Taraji Henson and I are cousins.
Okay.
We never met. We never met. Okay, Taraji's Henson ancestor is Matthew Henson's brother. So we're like distant cousins. But all of us, I always say, I got to do a little plug. Everybody should do genealogy. We can all be relatives, all three of us, and don't even know.
Yes. Well,
don't even know it.
There's a young lady that I've been friends with for some time, and recently we kind of reconnected, and she was telling me about her genealogy. I've had her as a guest on another radio show that I did, and she was talking about being related to Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
She's related to President Obama and another president. She told me she was related to Johnny Cash. And
hold it. Did you say Johnny Cash?
Johnny Cash.
That's a relative of mine, a distant relative.
See?
Now, let me tell you a quick little story now. Okay, we got to do a little positive piece for some of the white folks that go this way. I have a great-great-great-grandfather. His name was Lloyd C. Ford. He was a Revolutionary War soldier. He was in Johnson City, Tennessee. He had 10 white kids and 5 Black kids by his Black enslaved mistress. Well, he decided in 1848, he said, whatever they called us at the time, my colored kids, whatever it was, they loved me more than my white kids. So he left 112 acres of land to the Black kids and didn't leave the white kids anything. and set them free. Now, you know, they took that to court and battled for 8 years. And it's actually a permanent exhibit in Nashville called Ford versus Ford. Now, why I brought that up? So, because of that, we did a family reunion 3 years ago where the black folks and the white folks met after 140 something years.
Mm-hmm.
The white folks didn't even know the story.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And we have an oral tradition, and we pass things down from generation
Okay,
to
good.
generation.
Yes, and so when we did this, so Johnny Cash is a relative. President Richard Milhouse Nixon is a fourth cousin. Okay, he would turn over in his grave. Okay, he had somebody named Agin Shaheed kin to him. But that's all of us. We all got relatives. We all come off these plantations. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because I'm gonna be honest with you. When I did the genealogy, I really only wanted to know about the black people.
Right.
All black people got black, white, and Indian. We know that. I really wasn't looking for the European part, but it was a white relative, actually, who was a Mormon, believe it or not, that gave us information. And I found out who my grandmother, my fifth great grandmother, black, born in 1795. Okay, Sarah Robinson. I would not have got that if I didn't check those white relatives who had them records from them slave plantations. Okay, so I'm telling the audience, don't do like I did. Okay, and just concentrate on one thing, the black. If you got some white blood, some Indian blood, check out everybody because it'll help put all them pieces
Yeah.
together.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, Brother Agin, is the importance of doing the genealogical look back as opposed to the DNA look back. And
Absolutely.
it's not to discredit the DNA look back, but some of those things are based on statistics and not facts.
That's true.
So if you really want to know, you got to look at the who
Yeah.
begat who, begat who, begat who, begat who. Then
Yeah.
you really know
No,
where
no, that is absolutely true. Okay.
it's so interesting now that we live in this information age and we have all this stuff in our face,
Right.
but we know so little just because of the way the information is given to us. And sometimes it's said in certain places that these 16 and me and African ancestry and all these other kinds of
Right.
things. And I'm not saying that this is true. I'm just saying that this is something that is said.
Mhm.
These things are put out there so that they can collect our DNA so that we can be
Oh,
manipulated.
come on. You got all that going on.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you got all that going on too.
yeah.
Okay.
So we must know. And then the other thing is just maintaining the confusion about our identity.
Right.
We can't even agree on what to call ourselves.
All right, come on,
Oh.
man.
Are we black? Are we
Yeah.
African Americans? Are we
Right.
indigenous? Are we this? Are we that?
Right.
And we fail to recognize that no matter what we call ourselves, we all started from the same place.
Yeah.
Well, what I did, I taught my students this to move through that. I taught my young students a new word. I said monolithic. I said we are not a monolithic people. We have about 90 subcultures that make up the black experience, and all of them are black. No one kind of black is better than another kind of black. Not light skin, dark skin. I did a book called Colors Around. I refused to have them say light skin, dark skin, all that stuff we grew up with. I said Robert is peanut butter color. Okay. Linda is roast turkey color. Okay. I gave them a whole new way of looking at things. Okay. To get out of this whole color classification. Ward D. Muhammad, the son of Elijah Muhammad, he broke down the word black. Black means to be lack, to be lack. Is that a name to call ourselves? To be lack, to be lacking in development? But we popularized the term black and we've accepted it, and that's okay. But we got to look at these words
Yeah.
that are put in colored. Well, ain't nobody colored us. We was already had color.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Copy
all these
color.
words. Yeah,
You
no, it's
know,
a very this etymology thing
mhm.
is serious.
Yes. Well, I'm going to invoke something else because you said be lack, and it just reminded me of be less.
See?
You know, it's the, and I know that there's some folks who will put a different spin on this.
No, of course, but I'm telling you now, these things are playing. Even the word white, height,
Mhm.
height, be
Yes.
lack, height. Can you see it? One
Well,
word is lacking and another word is height.
let's
These
look at
things were created purposely.
mhm. Let's look at the word black, because I
Yeah.
think, and I could be, off on this, but the German word,
Okay.
it refers to whiteness,
Yes. Yes.
because you look at black and blank and they're almost the same.
I'll see
You
that.
see,
Yeah.
and then if you look up black in Black's Law Dictionary,
Okay.
look up the definition of black. If you looked at that definition, you would never want anybody calling you black.
Well, see all of that. But now I want to make sure now that we honor. That's why I did this monolithic piece. Rather than struggle over all of this, my invitation, okay, is to embrace all of the different textures and flavors that have existed and don't make one better than the other. It was just something that we went through. It was an identity piece because 100 years from now, we may be calling ourselves something totally different than any of this. And it's really okay because we have a very, very diverse experience. Okay. Wardi Muhammad, I like the way he said it. He said, if you want to see the world in one tapestry, look at us in America because you can see the white man in us. You can see the Mexican in us. You can see the Asian because we look like. So, if you want to see the world in one focus, so in one sense, we were kind of created to be a flag for the world because people can look at us and identify with everything. Okay, so just and again, that's just a little interesting piece how that rolled out. But we want to be careful not to get, just in my opinion, in these battles. I didn't let my students get into those kind of battles. Okay, that's in no light skin, no dark skin, the roast turkey. Back to that whole point, just to get out of the whole game there because it's really a game.
Mhm.
It's a divide and conquer game.
Mhm.
Okay.
If we could, let's shift gears and talk about the work you did within the San Diego Unified School District. You were managing basically race relations, and I'm
Yes.
curious about how that looked for you. What were you accomplishing? What were the issues, and how you were able to move things forward, if that was possible?
So in San Unified School District, it's the eighth largest school district in the country, and it was very unique in the composition of the board members and those kinds of people. And they created this race and human relations program. I actually was the third person to run that. The two predecessors were female. I was the first male and the second black, but I ran it for 18 years. Okay. And the race and human relations looked at cultural awareness, it looked at racism. It looked at trends in education. And so, through this program, on the black side of things, we'll do the focus. I got to meet Malefa Asante. I got to meet Asa Hilliard. I got to meet, I've got a block right now, my brain's going fog, but Ivan Van Sertima. Ivan Van Sertima. Okay, so I'm telling you these names because I'm applauding the Sunny Unified School District because it brought major black names to come and influence this program that we created. Janice Hale Benson, Black Children, Their Roots and Learning and History Styles, okay? And we went all over the country speaking in conferences and stuff, looking at what I'm going to call promising practices to help develop. We at that time we used the word African American. It was the flavor of the day. Okay, to assist our children. But again, my invitation, they can say black, they can even say colored if they want to, if they want to speak of a different era. Okay, once upon a time we were colored, that type of thing. Okay, but this race and human relations. So I had the advantage. Under this, we trained two of the country's assistant secretaries of education, Dr. Thomas Payson, who helped start this People Advocate program. He became Assistant Secretary of Education. Our last Assistant Secretary of Education, Cindy Martin, I trained her. So we had influence, believe it or not, on major things here in American culture, okay, coming out of this program. And man, if I went down the list of the young men and women that came out of that program for 20 years who have distinguished themselves, okay, on sports teams. There's one young man who's actually head for the U.S. Navy on most of their medical institutions. They all came out of this program. So it is important, even though I do believe in Saturday schools, I do believe in African American or African centered instruction, but most of our children are going to be in the public schools, and we must hold them accountable. Dr. Malefi Asante said we cannot have our children be renters of other people's ideas. They have to see themselves in the mainstream curriculum. So we have to hold the curriculum accountable. So I named my center the Timbuktu Learning Center. They didn't even know what Timbuktu, excuse my language, but when we grew up, I'm going to kick your butt all the way to Timbuktu. That's all I ever know about Timbuktu. Okay, right. But Timbuktu, they getting ready to make a movie now. The richest man in the history of the world came from Timbuktu, Mansa Khan Musa. Okay, yeah, that's getting ready to come out. That's gonna blow everything in another direction. Okay, because Timbuktu also too, I believe Timbuktu, correct me if I'm wrong, is the only city in recorded history that got their main source of income from the writing and selling of books. Even though they had the gold, even though they had the salt, but the writing and selling of books. Right now, as we speak, go look it up. UNESCO and the World Organization, when the Europeans came and invaded Mali, after the empire was destroyed, I'm going to use that language, the people were smart enough to take them books, the manuscripts, and hide them.
They buried
them underground, put them in caves, had them up in place. And now they have over 20,000 manuscripts that they've identified. Oh, so you say black people didn't read and write until they got around white people? But we got these manuscripts in the 12th century.
Hold on. We got to put a footnote right there. Okay. Now, why? Why is that information is not available? Where people can see that, know that, and I'm just saying, that's a part of my tax situation, and meaning that we're on attack, not just, not physically, but, culturally, spiritually, educational wise, is they put everything, they're using every method, to keep you in the same stagnant consciousness, and making you believe that you subordinate or second class to them. I mean, I'm just saying we call ourselves free now. We should be able to identify that at this point and see the attack and looking elsewhere, for some other answers to these questions. And Vince, what I say, your ancestors are saying, when you going to try me? They have went through all these issues that black folks have. They have solved those things,
Right.
That's why they had rites of passage. What the purpose of a man, a woman, a child, a boy, your role in the community. They don't
That's
wrote
right.
hundreds of proverbs that will give you inspiration on how to live when you're going through difficult times, what to
That's
do,
right.
what not to do. How, if you got issues with your wife, issues with this, that, and other, they give you proverbs how to live. All of that is there
That's
because of
right.
the indoctrination, because of they controlling the narrative and things like that. That we don't look that way, we don't know those ways, and they separated us from all this information. And like I said again, that's why I say do the Sankofa. Go back and
Oh
finish
yeah,
what you left.
absolutely. Well, forgive me. Right now, I'm having a block on his name. It's not Dr. James Comber. It's another one of our famous black educators. But this is what he said. He said, "quote unquote, we already know all we need to know
Yeah.
to produce change. We simply have to admit we haven't done it so far."
Mhm.
Now that's where men like you come in, doing it, like this show, doing it, getting this information out, okay? But everybody has to be held accountable. Like other cultures who have managed to have their own little Saturday schools and the teaching home, we got
Yeah.
the internet now,
Mhm.
so we don't care nothing about no school systems. Don't want to teach the truth. Just watch this show and get the truth. There's just really, really, really no excuse. So there has to be a consciousness raising, a revisiting, okay, of uh, the strengths that we have because we already have all we need. We just ain't done it so far.
I
I
agree.
want to jump in and just invoke what Brother Hamtonio shared with us about being under attack, because I
Mm.
do agree that we are under attack mentally, we're under attack spiritually, but we're also under attack physically.
Oh
And I
yes,
say that is just because our mentality is affected by our physiology.
that's
Mhm.
right.
So, for instance, we are consuming products that are detrimental to our brain chemistry.
That's right.
They have created an atmosphere that is permeated by fear.
Yes,
As a result of us being afraid constantly, we stay stuck in a survival, a flight or fight mentality,
Yeah.
but there
Mhm.
are things that we consume that enhance that whole situation. So
well, it's very, very important, brother. I want to say this now, and I want to give credit where credit's due. Among the first, again, back to one of our great. We had many great movements. Among them is the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who's now deceased. Okay, and he said the black man was raised on fear and lies. Now that's a powerful statement. The black man, woman, was raised on fear and lies. Then he wrote a book called How to Eat to Live. Okay.
Mhm.
Now I myself learned to eat one meal a day as a member of the Nation of Islam. Was how I first became. I'm Muslim by culture. Okay. And then when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son, Wardi Muhammad, came into yet another expression of Islam, okay, I also ate one meal every 2 days. I did that for 1 year. So there's a German author, his name is Arnold Ehret. Arnold Ehret. And Arnold Ehret, people like Jack LaLanne, Gloria Swanson, famous movie stars, they all followed Arnold Air, and that's why they kept their looks and stuff. Now, I'm only saying that to say we have to be very, very careful what we eat because you are what you eat. So
Mhm.
we do have to look at the composition of these foods, okay? And sometimes we just gonna have to let go.
Okay, but
Just gonna have to
let
let
me
go.
let me
Mhm.
interject that. Now, just say we move to the point of understanding that we're under attack. Just say we finally got that message across, or at least for the ones who understand that message. So,
Yes.
so if you're under attack, then that means that you have to protect yourself. Now, at this
That's
particular
right.
point, you got to
That's
have
right.
all hands on deck. You got to be paying attention. So, for me, and that's what I hope to where my people will understand. Then, okay, if somebody attacked me, so they don't have my best interest, so that means I can almost just say call them an enemy in so many words. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Because they're attacking me.
Right.
So
Okay.
if we as a people are vulnerable to the people that is attacking us, so
Right.
that means we must question everything that they put their hands on to give us.
Okay. Okay.
Because they don't have our best interests at heart because they're attacking us. So
Well,
I
let me give you
feel
two quotes, brother. Let me give you two quotes that I said to those young men. One of them is, "It's not the enemy, it's the inner me. It's not the enemy, it's
okay.
the enemy. Because the enemy can't enter to you if the enemy is straight, like you talking, you straight." The next one I told them is, if you don't take charge of yourself, somebody else
Somebody
gonna
else
take
will.
charge of you. If you don't take charge of yourself, somebody's gonna take charge. So take charge of yourself is to properly educate yourself,
Mhm.
properly eat, be in the company of right-minded men and women, etc., etc. These are very, very important things that we have to just get into our
But
psyche.
what I want to say too, brother, and in conclusion to that thought that I was saying is that now you everything that you consuming at this point is in the hands of your enemy.
Well, absolutely.
And it
Yeah.
has to be questioned. So I'm saying we should, as a people, should be looking for some type of independency of that. Because you don't know. All it takes is what evil mind. What did you
Right.
put in your food? Your deodorant, your
Right.
hairspray, your this, your that,
Right.
your this and that. It could go on and on. Whatever is evil
Right.
mind. He found out that this sterilizes you. This
Right.
causes this. This causes that. So I'm just saying we should be mindful as that as a people and work as best as we can to alleviate ourselves from being dependent on him for anything because it may not be in our best interest. That's all I'm saying.
No, brother, and you teaching good, and also
Looks like his signal froze up there for a moment.
Mm.
But I like what he said about
Enter me.
the inner me.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not the enemy, it's the enemy. Okay, and to
Mhm.
work on that. And that gets back to what you were saying, Brother Vince. To eat right, to think right, to be in the right, or like Brother Antonio, with the right spirit. See, you got the spirit. So, what I would advise people to do is go read the history of Haiti. Go
Mm.
read about Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Go read about Henry Christopher,
Mhm.
Toussaint Louverture, and
Mhm.
Alexander Pétain.
Mhm.
Okay, Haiti was the richest part of the world at one time. The richest part of the world. That was one of the richest islands. The French came in there with our people there, and those four black generals rose up and kicked those French out and took over the island. Okay, but then what happened? The French said, okay, they came back 2 years later with 1,000 ships, took over that independence, said, you ain't gonna have all this oil. And what the Haitians did, they had Cape Francois, which rivaled Paris. Cape Francois rivaled Paris. That's how beautiful Haiti was.
Mhm.
Okay. They burned that city down to keep the French, because if they didn't do that, listen to me carefully, they was on their way to take over the 13 colonies. We would all be speaking French today.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I
They
read.
owe us as black people. They owe us as black people for their very, very, very existence. But look how they dog Haiti today. Look how they dog Haiti today. And Haiti saved this country, saved this culture. These things have to be known.
Yeah.
Uh, they
Mhm.
have to be known. Okay, I'm gonna
Mhm.
stop right there.
Mhm.
Well, and to put a footnote in that, the French continued to exploit Haiti,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
and so does the United States.
Yeah,
They
for sure.
had reparations. I think Haiti is still paying the last of the French
Yeah, I
said
think
you're
they
going to
just
pay
paid it
us
off this week.
reparations
Yeah.
for all that you took from the French plantation owners. Then the island split in half. Okay, it used to be Cape Francois. Okay, now it's Haiti and Saint Domingue. And
Mhm.
Saint Domingue, they did the color thing. Saint Domingue's all the Creoles, you know, the little mixed ones. Haiti, all the black. The divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Okay, that was all the setup because Haiti, okay, could have revolutionized this part of the world. Okay, we talk about some of the revolutions that we had, Nate Turner and whatnot, but the greatest one was Haiti. Haiti defeated the French. Defeated the French. Napoleon Bonaparte said the only man he was jealous of was Toussaint Louverture. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, Toussaint Louverture. Okay,
Mhm.
but that's why I'm looking at my police brother here. When we get them kind of men back in place, those kind of strong men, the warrior man, okay? Right now you could be a policeman, you can't be a general, but I guess you can if you join the military. I was in the Navy now. I was in the Navy.
Mhm.
Just a little bit background on me. So when I was in the Navy, I was able to convince the Commodore of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. I became his assistant for the Commodore of the U.S. Pacific Fleet in 1969, and we did race and human relations then. So that's been my background all along. I did that right out of. I grew up in Los Angeles, Compton. Okay, and then I was going to Long Beach State. I joined the Navy. I did race and human relations there, and then I did it for the school district. So this whole subject here is very, very dear to me. I have dedicated my whole adult life to this subject, like I know you men have done as well.
You know, I'm wondering as we talk about people like Asa Hilliard and some of the other prominent Black scholars that you invoked earlier, and
Yes,
we have this conversation about African-centered learning, curriculum, history, all those things, and we're living in a climate where they have a great big shredder and they're taking our receipts and we're
right.
putting the receipts in the shredder so that we don't have the documentation of the past. I'm curious about what your vision is for our not just our future but our present as we navigate anti-blackness in this country, but we are also cognizant of the importance of remembrance. Where do you see things going based on what educators in this country are doing?
It's going to be an interesting piece that I'm going to spin with you. And it goes this way. Look around the country right now. Land is everything. Land is everything. Right now in this country, there are about 10 states that are about to go bankrupt. Okay. There's cities where they actually will pay you to move to the city. If you just come move here, we'll give you $10,000 because the cities are becoming depleted. The cities are unraveling. Now, why I'm bringing that up is you have Black Wall Street, but it wasn't just Black Wall Street. There were 30 or more Black developments, not quite on the scale of Black Wall Street, but there. We have to start preparing ourselves as a people to come and remember Rosewood, remember Black, remember these places because we're going to have to pull our resources together. Okay, we're going to have to pull things together and have our areas. Now, before they didn't let it happen, they wouldn't let us, you know, they would bomb us out and destroy our cities, but they can't take care of us anymore. They can't take care of us more. They can't take care of themselves. Okay, we have to remember now that America, okay, is on its way not to be the superpower that it once was. Okay, it will still exist. It will still exist. Like England, they used to say the sun never rose to set on the English Empire. Well, some people feel that way about America, but I'm telling you, the day is coming that America, who's only 5% of the world, in population and consumes 30% of the resources, the rest of the world is not going to allow that. But in that now, for us, about coming to us again, that'll be the time for us to pool our resources, okay, and have areas, okay, have areas where we're growing food, we're developing housing complexes, all these kinds of things. And I don't have to tell you the history. You know, we've attempted these things. They bombed us, they did this, but America's not going to do that no more. America can't even take care of itself. Okay, and so we're going to have to coexist. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad once asked for 5 states. People say, "Are you out of your mind? They ain't gonna give you no 5 states." Okay, but in the future to come, the land distribution is going to be wide open for people to pool themselves together, like minded people. And we have enough information again, and we can simply coexist. And I mean, in coalition. Look, they're right minded white people, they're right minded Hispanics and Asians and blacks. We'll just coexist, okay, and build a different kind of culture. But this is all in the shifting of the American culture. President John F. Kennedy said in a speech just before he was assassinated, he said, "I'm afraid of something called Pax Americana." So there are two Americas. There's always been two Americas. America with the Constitution, America for freedom, justice, and equality in the Constitution. But then there's been Pax Americana, which is to go and take over, okay, the wealthy corporations and these types of things, okay? I'm going to throw one more on there too because we don't get this platform all the time. If you haven't heard of or read the Peace and Friendship Treaty, the Peace and Friendship Treaty. It's the oldest treaty in the history of America. And what the treaty is, and most people don't know nothing about it, it's Morocco, African country, protecting the 13 colonies with George Washington. And he created, when President Barack Obama, he ratified it again. It's the oldest treaty in America. So here's the piece. I'll end on. When America came into existence, remember it did something. It shattered monarchies. It ended the state and created the state. Nobody recognized America when they first did the Constitution. The first country to recognize America was Morocco. Not France, not England, not they're all monarchies. And guess what Morocco said? It was during Ramadan. They said, "Of course we accept your constitution. When we see your constitution, we see the Quran." The Constitution is not Judeo-Christian. It's not Judeo-Christian. The creators of the Constitution, they were deists. They didn't even believe in the intervention of God. Thomas Jefferson, all those people, and they were all, let's don't play with it, Masons. They're all Masons, okay? Studied the Quran in secrecy, okay? So why am I saying that? Because back to Timbuktu. As black people, we're Christians, we're Jews, we're many right-minded people. But the blacks who had become Muslim is all I'm speaking of. That's who produced Mansa Khan Musa. The blacks in Morocco protected America with the Peace and Friendship Treaty. England said, "You may have won the war, but you ain't taking your ships nowhere." So the Moroccans allowed the Americans to come into the Mediterranean and go and protect it against America. So what I'm saying now in closing, right-minded Muslims, right-minded Christians, right-minded Jews. I didn't say Zionist Israel. I said right-minded Jews and right-minded everybody. We are going to have to form coalitions, right-minded people, okay, and break this stranglehold that has existed. And look, they had their day. We even benefit. I mean, we run around living like we live in. Okay, I'm not coming against anybody. It's just you had your day in court and your day ain't working no more. They ain't working no more. Okay. And it's going to be us black people in particularly that's going to have to save this country and humanize this country because the rest of the world is not going for white supremacy no more. Rest of the world ain't going for that. Okay. And if you want to see successful people, look at the black people in America, look at our struggle, study who we are, and model after that. I'm gonna stop right there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think people, what you're seeing right now, you're seeing people across the globe are starting to recognize a common denominator.
There you go, brother. You got it. No. And the common denominator is to be human. The right word of human means wise man. We have to be wise, okay? I'm going to give you a quote from the Quran. It goes this way. By the token of time, surely man is at loss, except those who do good by one another and exhort one another to truth and patience. It also says, I have created you into tribes so that you would come to know one another. If I had wanted you to be one, I would have made you one. So anybody that tries to make everybody one, that's the problem right there. Everybody can't be American. Everybody can't be Libyan. Everybody can't. No, we're to be diverse. We're to be diverse and we're to be in righteous competition with one another. And you got your strength, and you got your strength, and you got your strength. This whole one thing is a fallacy. Okay, that's against nature.
So is that the lesson?
The lesson is
I mean, by
to
being
embrace
able,
diversity, to embrace
and
diversity.
to able to work that out
Yeah,
and
and
learn.
work together. That's why I say, as black people, stop all this fighting about who's blacker than thou and all of that. Let's just embrace the diversity and work together. Okay? There's something that came out of colored. There's something that came out of Negro. There's something that came out of black. There's something that came out of African American. Get the good out of all of it. Okay? And then pool it together. And stop this bickering.
So I think essentially what I'm taking from what we're talking about right now is the fact that we do have diversity. I mean, there's no question about that. If you look at our shades, we got like 26 different shades. But at the same time, there is a oneness because we're one family. We might have different segments here and there. You know, you might have people who are from
rituals
there.
Right.
But all one people, and it's the oneness that unites us, that enables us to fight against the things that are detrimental to us. So, you know, when we look at this thing that we call God, and God might not be the right word for it, because, you know, some people say source, some people say university. There are all kinds of different words that we use to apply for this great supreme intelligence.
The great influencer, the great influencer.
The great influencer. And we realize that we are all an aspect of that. That's what creates the oneness. And that's what the focus has to be. One of the things that's absent from this whole equation is this thing that we call love. And sometimes when we think about love, we think of it in terms of a romantic thing.
What we do, we sexualize love. I mean, that's part of love.
That is. But aside from that, and I know this is way out there, way out there.
Dump on out, bro.
we cannot have hate within our hearts or our minds.
No, we can't.
We have to see things as they are. And I'm thinking specifically of the person that's running this country, or at least the person that we perceive is running this country.
Keyword perceive. Because he's just a puppet. He's just a puppet.
Just a puppet. And he doesn't have, from my perspective, and I can only speak from where my mind takes me. But I cannot imagine that he understands the intricacies and the operation of cryptocurrency, but he's benefiting from it greatly.
Oh, absolutely.
And when we look at the ways that our country, and not just our country, but other countries, are being manipulated, They're manipulated and they're controlling us through things that have absolutely no value at all.
Absolutely.
This whole idea of a stock market where we have all these assets, all this wealth, all this value, so to speak, is based on illusion because it's based on things that do not exist. If we look at Mansa Musa and we look at what he had, and that wealth was measured in commodities.
That's
so
right.
If you got gold, and gold is something that you assign value to, then that was something tangible. That was something that you could pick up and hold in your hand.
Right.
When you look at the way our economic and financial systems work, it's smoke and mirrors.
Yes. All of that.
How is it possible that this country could owe $36 trillion?
Right, right.
How could we owe that?
Right.
The way that we owe it is it's based on something that's imaginary.
Absolutely.
Elon Musk does not have a vault
with
$500 billion sitting in it.
No.
But when we look at him and we say, oh, well, he's the wealthiest man in the world.
Is he?
With what?
Yeah,
with
is he?
Contracts, with agreements, with things that are written on a piece of paper or stored
with numbers. With numbers on
numbers.
But look what you just said. We all know that wealth should be based on gold. That's why Mansa Khan Musa is the wealthiest man in the world, more than Elon Musk, Gates, or anybody. His wealth was based on gold.
That's what I'm saying.
He is the wealthiest man in the world.
Exactly.
And then the three of us right now is a perfect example of the unity. And I'm gonna do. I have a degree in counseling psychology, so I'm gonna counsel the three of us. Right now, you have a perfect example of unity. We got Brother Antonio, a manly man. You could hear it in his voice. He'll hurt somebody if they get in the way, and he'll give you love. Okay, you got Agin. You know he's an educator. You hear the way he talks. You got Vince, the communicator. The three of us ain't nothing but unity here. Ain't nothing but unity here. We have to take all the different kind of men and bring us together with unity. We need the strong brother. We need the communicator. We need the orator, okay, and all the other kinds of things. I can't keep saying enough. We already have what we need. We just have to be in unity. Don't be jealous of this man's strength. Don't be jealous of this man's communication. Don't be jealous of this man's education, okay, and all the other things that our black men have. I'm gonna stop right there. This is a perfect example right here that unity does exist, because we didn't even know each other even a month ago. But the way we talking, you think we grew up together. It can happen just that quick.
You know that thread that weaves all that together?
Yes.
Culture.
I knew you were going to say culture.
That's right, bro. That's right.
What I also want to invoke in this moment is the importance of black men demonstrating what we're demonstrating right now.
Yes.
Because let's just look at things historically. It's been the sisters that have held us together.
Well, of course.
It's the sisters who are really the ones who are doing the work, and then as brothers, as men, we kind of rest on the laurels of their work.
Yes.
But right now, it's really important for us as men to stand up and be what men are supposed to be within our society.
Yes.
So there's this huge depopulation agenda going forward right now.
Oh, bro. 75% of all black children, 75% of all black children live in homes that are not defined by a man and a woman in marriage. Now, I'm not saying that that's the only kind of home. Great people have come out of single parent fathers and single parent mothers, but culture has always been based on the family structure, and our culture has now got to the point that family structure. So there's this division that is now been fostered upon us, and all of that also has to change.
Balance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
all
got
about balance.
to have the balance. Okay, it's just got to have the balance. There's many, many things that we simply have to reconstruct here, and it's going to take time. Now, we've been here for a long time on this planet, and even though we're saying what we're saying, this ain't the end of the. Okay, worlds come out of men's minds and hearts. We're on the earth. We're on the earth, but worlds come out of men's minds and men's hearts, men and women's. Okay. Man means mind. Hold on. Woman means womb of mind.
Mhm.
So we have to create a new evolving world here because you asked where are we going. Okay. Do not give up. If it's one thing that we represent more than anybody on earth, are Africans in America. We're the only culture in the history of the world that was completely stripped of their cultural identity and made. Wardi Muhammad said that they created factories to empty the human content out of the black man and woman, and what replaced it is almost unrecognizable. Well, now we got to get to your point, love, brother. Stop being afraid of love. We got to learn how to love one another and in our cultural way. We have our own definition of love, okay, in Africa and other colored parts of the world. We need to go back and revisit just what that love looks like, okay? And I'm not taking that away from European love. It's one expression, but as a friend of mine say, how's that working for us?
Right.
Okay, so yeah.
The first step, my brother Agin, the first step is that we have to begin to love ourselves. And
Oh man.
historically, what we have been pushed into is
Right.
self-hate.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
Mhm.
can't love yourself, you can't
Mhm.
love anything else.
That's true. That's
So
it.
Well,
That's
loving
you
how they
hear,
were
here's
raising
the
you grow.
formula now. You keep asking me about my background. Here's
Mhm.
what I told my young men. Nobody is better than you, but you are not better than anybody.
Mhm. Yeah.
Nobody is better than you, but you're not better than anybody else. So, as to what
Mhm.
your points you just said, Vince, we have to have a healthy definition of ourselves,
Mhm.
Let me say
how we
this.
think about ourselves. Okay.
Absolutely. And it has to be godly. You have to
Oh,
understand that
yes.
the spirit of
Oh,
God that
yes.
is in you. So
Yes.
it's mental for us not to see the creator that is in you. I
Absolutely.
remember a sermon when I was young, and the preacher said that if a pig was able to draw a picture of God, God would look like a pig.
That's
Okay. So
a
I'm
good
saying,
one.
so my point is that if
Yeah.
you can't see God in you,
Right.
look how the Indian people, they gonna put a little swag on. The Asian people gonna put some eyes on to make themselves in it. But even if Buddha is black, he gonna make them look a little, they
Yeah.
gonna put the jewel at the top of their head. They gonna do
Right.
something. The Indians
Right.
gonna represent them. The Mayans gonna have that little Mayan nose on them and
Right.
everything else to
That's
see
right.
themselves into the creator.
That's
But
right.
we the only people that would accept somebody else's version of God and say okay with it. Well, it don't matter what he looked like. It don't, it don't matter. He's spirit and all that. But why is everybody else identifying? It's not a knock on everybody else, but your people, your ethnic group got to understand and see the creator in you by that
That's right.
imagery. That's
No,
all.
no.
It's not being discriminatory. Let them, yeah, you're supposed to bring it home and make it look like you. But your people, if you're trying to lead your people in a certain type of understanding and relationship to the earth, the cosmos, you got to see the creator in you. And if you don't do that and you looking out and seeing everybody else representing themselves like that, that puts you at a deficit right there.
Well,
Brother,
see,
I
in
would
that part right there, bro, for me, it goes this way. Okay. Now the belief that I subscribe to is that the creator of existence is neither male or female, black
Yeah.
or white, is not
Mhm.
anything of the creation. It's independent of the creation. But just as you said, but the creation is an outgrowth of what produced it. So the God in you, God produced you to look the way you look, for you to look the way that I look, as an expression of the Creator. Because look at the
Yeah.
universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's trillions upon trillions of diversity of looks. Okay, trillions upon trillions. But every one of them is important. So here's the end of it. This is what I told my students. If you go back 10 generations right now for us three men, we have 4,280 great grandparents. If we could go back 10 generations, if any one of them didn't do what they did when they did that sex act, we wouldn't be here. One more time. If any one of them. So it made no difference what they thought, who they were, who they weren't, if they was black, if they was white, if they was Indian, it would make no difference. They had. So we cannot get trapped in these identities, but
Mm-hmm.
we the identities. We
Mm-hmm.
must respect being African. We must respect being man. We must respect being female and any other definitions the way we express, but it still has to go in a unity. Don't make one better than the other. Nobody's better than the other.
Yeah,
Okay.
and don't get me wrong, all those variations and stuff like that, all of them is all right. The
Yeah.
problem is that I'm just having a problem with us not taking up the same
that,
mantle with that. That's all,
yeah,
because once you raise your level of consciousness, you
right.
understand exactly what you're saying, that the spirit of the creator is in everything and everybody.
There you
But when you're
go.
dealing with kids and you're having young folks growing up and you got ethnic groups, you got to see yourself as a part of that.
Absolutely. And you have to see yourself as beautiful. Okay.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to see yourself as beautiful. Okay.
I'm
Yes.
just coming back to what you said about the pig and the pig.
Oh, that was powerful. I ain't never heard that. That
And
was a good one.
my
I'm gonna
thought
take that back
was
to San Diego.
my thought was, what if in all these European versions of the church across the country, they
Right.
walked into their churches and they saw Black Jesus on the wall?
But guess what
They
now,
did it
Vince?
one
Don't
time. They
Vince,
did it
Vince,
one
hold
time.
on now. Vince, hold on now. We gotta
Yeah.
tell the truth, okay? Go to Europe.
They did it one time. Yeah.
The all the images of Esau, and they call him Jesus now, his nickname, that's a Greek name. All the images of Esau and Miriam are black.
Right. Yeah.
So Europeans had no problem seeing the great, I call Jesus a prophet, okay? They had no problem seeing that. They were socialized later. All their images were black. This
Mm-hmm.
new white image, and it's nothing wrong with being Caucasian. I mean, there's nothing superior about black or white at all.
Yeah.
But he just happened to have been black. Okay.
Right. Well,
And she happened to have been black.
right.
Okay. So no, I'm only bringing it up to show you that there's no excuse that there were as racist as some whites have become. So Ward D. Muhammad coined a term called diabolical white consciousness. Innocent Caucasian people who drank the poison of diabolical white consciousness, okay, went from being okay with seeing
Mm-hmm.
the enslaved African as the image of what they thought was the creator, Jesus, okay? So it has been done. That's all a smoke screen too.
Yeah. Well,
It's all a smoke screen.
just
Okay.
to embellish the point, my brother and I went to Panama 2 successive years. I think it was 2013 and 2014.
Yeah.
And we went to a place called Portobello.
Ah, okay.
And there's a church in Portobello. On the outside of it, I have the picture on my phone. I could show you. Black Jesus, and inside Black Jesus, and outside vendors selling little statuettes of Black Jesus. So it's not that they don't know, and it's not that they don't even embrace the idea of it. But when you come to this country, the United States of America, you know, we know that if you go to the Vatican, you're going to see the Virgin Mary, Black, baby Jesus, Black. We
absolutely
know we even have the shrine of the Black Madonna here in America. So it's not that it's not known, but then if we go back to the prevailing ignorance that exists in this country, going back to the folks that don't know about George Washington, they don't know that when they wrote that document, said we the people, they weren't talking about everybody. They weren't talking about their wives. They weren't talking about the 3/5 humans that we were defined as. See, so
all of that.
This is why it is so important for us to know that truth, to know the history of this country, to understand the difference between citizenship and sovereignty, because many of us,
now we talking.
we don't even know what sovereign means.
Absolutely.
There are so many of us who don't know who the Moors were. We don't know what Israel means. Somebody has taken Israel and hijacked it to mean something that it does not mean.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean, and I'm not stepping on any toes right here. But I'm just saying that some folks who call themselves chosen are not the chosen folks that they pretend
to be. Not. No, and look here.
Watch the entire world to think that that's who they are, and they're not. They weren't chosen.
Absolutely like not.
If you look at that own quote unquote historical document that we call the Bible, that everybody's so enamored with, the Bible has truths in it.
Absolutely.
That are in plain view. You can read those words, and you can read the Bible from cover to cover, several times in your life, and still not know what it means. What
absolutely.
You know is what people tell you it says. But if you don't understand the symbols and the metaphors and the hidden meanings in those words,
so pause right there, Vince. Let me give you one. Let's have some fun.
All right.
So in the story of Jacob and Esau, the word Jacob means the supplanter. Esau means justice. So when Jacob stole his brother's birthright, it wasn't talking about just a man. It was talking about a community of Jacob and a community of Esau. On the island of Patmos, when it said the angel wrestled down Jacob, what it meant is that the Jacob community began to wrestle with itself, and the ones that wanted to be good said, we don't want to be supplanters anymore. And so they gave him the name Israel, which meant children of God. But it said Jacob was seen walking over the hill with a limp in his left leg. That's what we're experiencing today. The Jacob with the limp is the Zionist state of Israel. Orthodox Jews don't, but say, why are you calling yourself Israel? You ain't Israel. You communist. You're whatever you are. Okay, that whole book is symbolic, and you got to learn how to read into it. But I'm gonna pause right there. I just want to throw that out there. There is a difference between Jacob and Esau, and that story was more than just about two people. It was about a whole culture, the culture of Jacob, the culture of Esau, and we're in that time today. Somebody done stole the birthright, trying to rule the world, okay, and now Esau has to rise up, okay, and take it back.
There's so much that we don't know about what happened years ago. Just yesterday, I watched a video, and it could be true, maybe not true, but they said that the wood that the ark that Noah built, that type of wood is not found on that part of the world.
Gopher wood, isn't it? The gopher wood?
The gopher wood, you find it here in America. So again, we listen to what we've been told over all these years, and all we know is what we've been told.
Okay,
We don't
Vince, I'm gonna jump in again.
go ahead.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us the Aboriginal black man, he was giving us a message. The original inhabitants of the Americas were black.
There's no
The
doubt.
Asians that came, when they came, we were here, and then some of them mixed, okay, and some of them remained. Look at the pictures that the original whites that came here drew. They were black with what we call nappy hair, okay, all throughout America. So we were already here. So yeah, that art could have been right here in this part of the world. You're absolutely right. It's just so much stuff that has been hidden from us.
Well, see,
Okay, so then what
here's-
happened when they
right.
had enslavement?
Mhm.
Okay, you had like the Creek Indians, all them black, the Seminoles. Okay, so
Mhm.
what happened when they started bringing the Africans here? They were exporting the black Indians, what we now call Indians. They were sending them out. They were sending them out. They said, "Well, look, we'll just call them all niggas. We'll just all call them Africans.
That's
All
right.
of us have Aboriginal blood and African blood.
See, but
Aboriginal blood
mhm.
and African blood."
Yeah. Here's the
Okay,
here's the thing too to think about with all of that. You know, they had a long time to get this story together. If you go
that's
back
a good
to
one.
yeah, if you go back to Council of Nicaea and the several other
Okay, you
councils that
got it.
we did, we got to remember history. You
You
had
got it.
close to over 800 years of the Dark Ages, y'all,
That's right.
where
That's
people
right.
couldn't read, it was ignorant. So
Right.
they had a long time. And then
That's
all of a
right.
sudden, 1100, 1200, 1400,
Right.
all this information started coming up. Folks
Right.
couldn't read. They was ignorant. Only the
Absolutely.
Sadducees, Pharisees, and all them folks was able to
Absolutely.
read. They were dumb people. So they
Right.
so they came and rebirthed all this information, changed the colors, changed the names, the locations, and all this old stuff that came with this information.
You're
That-
teaching good, bro. You're teaching good. No, all of that is fact. That Council of Nicaea is extremely important. Okay. As a Muslim, we have to believe in the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. But the correct Bible, the correct Quran, and the correct Torah. Okay. Because do we really have the teachings of Jesus today? Or do we have the Council of Nicaea? This is
that
very,
is the
very
question
critical.
right there.
Yeah,
That's
very, very, very critical. Okay.
Well,
And so when you have the second coming, when Jesus come back, somewhere in the Bible, he's gonna say, "I don't know you." And
Mhm.
they think it means one thing, what he's really saying, "I never taught this stuff you talking about. What's all of this?" So I'm just jumping in now. It's a big piece. You have the teachings of Paul, is what you have. You don't have
Mhm.
the teachings of Esau. You
Right.
have the
and
teachings of Paul.
you
Okay,
don't
so
have
that's
the
another whole story.
you don't
Okay,
have the teachings of Enoch. You don't have the
right.
teachings of Timothy. You
There
don't
you
have
go.
the teachings of Mary. You have a whole bunch of things that were left
There
out
you
because
go.
if they were included, they would
Right.
give you an understanding of the power that you have within you that they wanted to show you and share with you so that it would empower you. But the
The
Council of Nicaea,
Ethiopian Bible has 66 more books than the Western version.
that's what I'm talking
And
about.
Enoch is in there.
Exactly, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's just amazing. Again, just coming back to what we don't know, the truths that are hidden in plain sight, and what they
That's
have
right.
done to keep
Right.
us away from those truths. Because if we really knew, then we would not be susceptible. You know, Brother Antonio, what you said about the dark ages, I was thinking as you said that
Oh, yeah.
we still in the dark age.
Absolutely. We're still in the dark ages.
Dark age.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I wanted to mention, which you mentioned, Brother Agin, you referenced the second coming.
Yes.
And
Yes.
with the second coming, everybody's standing around on earth looking up into the sky, waiting for something to come down from the
Right.
clouds.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but Christ is already back. Because what that return of Christ is the return of consciousness.
I'm gonna give you
Christ,
that.
Christ consciousness.
No,
And
I'm gonna
Christ
give you that.
consciousness is,
Yeah.
is something that lives within us, those of
Yeah.
us who have the consciousness.
Right.
There are so many folks who are walking around without the consciousness. They're the
Right.
zombies, Brother Antonio, that we
Yeah.
encounter every day. The zombies that stop their car in the middle of the street and tell you go round.
Right.
There are
No,
folks
Vince, it is a Christ consciousness, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you another little piece now because we're doing the black thing here now. So
Okay.
Muhammad of Arabia, he went on something called the Mi'raj, and he went through the seven heavens and to the portals. So when he came back and he saw all the prophets, so his followers at the time, they were interested. They said, "Oh, you saw Esau, you saw Moses, you saw man, what they look like." Muhammad of Arabia said, quote unquote, "The blackest man I ever saw was Moses." He said that Esau was black. He said that Suleiman or Solomon was black. This is what Muhammad said.
Oh, well,
And
hold on, brother. Hold on. Now, here's the thing. I mean, this is just an example
yeah,
on how far removed from critical analysis and thinking.
yeah, right.
I mean, we're in 2026 getting rises, from coming to a new understanding of, hey, these people were black. These people were black. I mean, we're getting a rise from that in 2026. But look, all them stories took place in Africa, in East Africa, where black folks are, but we couldn't put black folks there in our mental mind.
Absolutely. But see, the problem is the brainwash because, for example, in the Muslim world, here you have Muhammad, okay, and the followers in great parts of the Muslim world, they've been Caucasianized, okay, and here the person that you following told you that Esau was black. He told you that Moses was black. He told you that Solomon was black. Muhammad's grandfather was black. Okay,
all those people
but all this information, yeah.
All of them was Africa. Moses was taught in the deeds of the Egyptians. Jesus went in there. All of them. And I'm saying the psychosis, brother. That's all.
No, it is a psychosis.
The psychosis of all this tickets, and we willing to accept a person named John, Paul, Mark. Man, dude, what is wrong with you? In this heavily black continent, we could see ourselves being the major players in this story.
No, that's true.
Somebody else telling us this with some foreign names. They don't change and we okay.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is the end for me on my mouth. Okay, since we mentioned the Bible, we like to forget how the Bible says the long arm of Ethiopia shall stretch out and encompass the world. It's already telling you that it's going to come back to the black influence of the world. In Islam, it's the same thing. The Prophet Muhammad SAW told us that in the last days that Ethiopia shall rise up again. It's all in the scripture. Okay. And Ethiopia just don't mean the land of Ethiopia. Ethiopia means black people.
Yes, absolutely. First should be the last, and the last should be the first.
There you go. And that'll make us remember we're not better than Caucasians. We're not better than Asian. We just first. That's all. We were the first to write. We were the first to do math. We were the first to do these things. This is our history, and that must be respected.
Yes.
It must be respected. That's all. Not better than nobody.
You say you looked at that and you say we did it before, and Vince, you talked about that stuff and colors was a construct at that time. It wasn't just So the point I'm trying to say is we just looking for the truth. Black folks ain't gonna walk around and try to beat you down when you told the truth. And we was the first creation. We taught martial arts. We taught samurai. We did all that stuff.
All of it.
We would accept that and just go on about our business and just let's live in harmony and let's deal with it,
Yeah, and we wouldn't have to talk about first if they didn't do such a job to make us think that we was nothing.
There you go. You hit it right there.
Because if
That's
they
the
hadn't
original
done that,
subject.
we would just walk around just being who we are. That's
That's
all,
what I'm
just
talking
being
about.
who we are.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
they did that to us, so now we got to put the extra. We was first and this and that. That don't make
Absolutely.
us better than
Yeah.
nobody. We was just first. That's all.
That's all. That's all. That's all. We got to put emphasis on that because they work so hard to cover it up. So we got to
That's
bring
the
it to
point.
light.
That's the point.
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
well, my brother. I guess we can wrap it.
It's all
So,
good, man. It's all
Agin,
good.
all I'm gonna say is, I told you.
Okay. Okay. You did. You did.
Yeah.
You
Look
did.
back.
Yes, indeed. We've spent some magical moments together, and at the very least, now the world knows who Ernie Freeman was, and
Yes.
we got receipts now. We
Okay,
got our
man.
brother Agin giving us the 411 on that. And I will let you know that I do have a few copies of the book. You know, it's my intention to take some of those books down to Third Space Action Lab so perhaps they can
Okay.
sell some of them. I know that there's one person that must have this book. I'm just going to say it, Dr. Regina Williams over at the
Okay.
History Center. She needs to have this book. So I'm going to make sure that a copy of it lands in her hands. And we will look towards the future and doing what we can to create even more of an awareness of Ernie Freeman. Brother Agin, you have a couple of books, and I want folks to know how they can reach out to you and obtain, like Charles C. Flint. That's another name that we probably should have talked about today, but we can do that.
Right. That'd be another day. They basically can get it on Amazon, okay, if you just want to get it in the moment. Okay,
Yeah.
they could also get it through me in another way. Okay, there's another book that I co-wrote called The History of Blacks in California, 1900 to 1970, with John Templeton out of San Francisco. So there's some other references that people can call, and I'll give you the information, and then they can know how to get it. Okay.
Yeah, give me the information. I'll put it in the description of this video, and the video will be found on my YouTube channel. They actually squeezed out our 360 Info Network Facebook page access on this. And just so that you know, what happened with StreamYard is that for some reason, my account was not recognized.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
StreamYard, you can see the logo in the top right
Yes.
corner.
Yeah, I see.
StreamYard enabled us to do a free show today.
Okay.
But I do have a subscription, a paid subscription for StreamYard. I don't know what happened there, but that's what happened. So
Okay.
thankfully, this broadcast has been preserved. It will be archived and it will be shareable. So we can still share, and then we can correct everything so that next week when we come back, everything will be in
I got
place.
a little joke for you, but it's most truth is told in a joking manner. Whoever's watching all of this on the negative side, they say them three brothers gonna get together. we better mess this thing up as much as we can. And I will leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Black folk, when we come up to a wall, we find a way over it or around it.
Yeah, or through it.
Or through it. You know, and the bottom line is we got to do what we got to do. I promised to give you some announcements. We are like 2.5 hours into the program, so those who would have heard it probably aren't around to hear those announcements, but we will bring you some information next week on 360 Info Network, and we will have our commercials back and all that good stuff. So tune in next week. Also, don't forget, if you're on right now, do us a great big favor. Just give us a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. And we're going to do what we can to bring you quality information, awareness, knowledge, consciousness, culture, my brother Antonio, and all the other things that are important to us to be conveyed to those who have a thirst and a hunger for knowledge, because you can never know too much. And it is so important for us right now to know the truth in the midst of all the misinformation, disinformation, all the other kinds of information that enters into us but doesn't provide any benefit. We want to give you a benefit and enable you to experience a better and richer life. So with all that said, thank you, Brother Agin, for joining us today. We're both Aries men. We established that last night. It was funny because we were over on Larchmere last night, and Brother Agin was in Larchmere Arts, and I was standing outside on the sidewalk talking to somebody who was born on the same day as Brother Agin. You know, it's just and there's nothing in terms of coincidence. Everything
it never is. No.
And so it's just a great thing. So again, I'm greatly honored to have met you, and I look forward to future conversations about the things that we talked about today and more. So with that, as always, Brother Antonio, anything before we make our transition?
Just reminding folks about the book signing on the 28th, 15539 Saranac. And I don't know if you got that post for me, if you could post that on our Facebook page as well, with so they can have the information.
Yeah, it's posted to the Facebook page.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So many thanks. And as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make today your absolute best day. Peace, everyone.
Peace, peace, peace.